Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Magic Pause podcast. It's your host, Jana Lena. Today, you get to enjoy a solo episode, and it's going to be a very interesting one, a very unexpected one, I want to say. Even for me, it was like, really? Is this happening? But I thought it's going to be different. So let me explain. My podcasting journey has been so profound for me. And I think I have shared this a lot, how it has helped me so much, of course, in my business to connect with my audience, with you guys, to create content more consistently, to be more in my zone of genius of creating rather than always consuming content, which is super important as a online entrepreneur. And it has also incredibly helped me to make more connections, has called in more collaborations, and really up-leveled my confidence a lot. And today I want to share with you a little bit where my podcasting journey is going and what has been coming to me as I have been really diving myself into this magic pause. So some of you may know that this podcast started with the name The Art of Slowing Down to Quantum Leap. And I remember that I chose this because one, slowing down is something that has always been so important for me. And also, when I work with my clients, I've always noticed that I bring this calm energy and we work a lot on actually slowing down so that we can shift it in the right direction and really move into the direction that's aligned for them rather than trying to follow all the cookie cutter solutions that are out there. And I intentionally wanted to bring in the other element of quantum leaping because I wanted to have an element of, well, we also have to take action. We cannot just slow down, right? And then not do anything. But anyways, over time, I just found that the name was kind of really long and I wanted to have a shorter name for the podcast. So I dropped the to quantum leap. And it was a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I think for 2.5 years, then I eventually decided that I needed to change the name. And it was during one of the episodes here, you guys may remember this, where this word or term came up, magic pause. And I immediately felt like, oh, yeah, it needs to be the magic pause. That was also very interesting for me is that I did notice that I didn't just take the action. I really waited for quite a long time. And then I started to doubt myself. I started to look for validation. I asked a lot of people, like, should I rename it or not? And then eventually I was like, yeah, I just have to do it. I already announced it and I'm going to just do it. So I did change the name, as you know, to the Magic Pause. And the Magic Pause is very similar, I think, to the theme of the art of slowing down. And like I said, I believe magic pausing is so important because in the Gene Keys, in human design, being an online entrepreneur, it is so important for us to take a pause to really feel into our body. Is this really the right decision? Or am I here just taking some action because somebody tried to convince me or I feel pressured? And so many other things also in our personal life. I mean, in my personal life, I really enjoy the slowing down so much and the pausing, and I really need it. It's really become part of my lifestyle. And what I have been realizing over the last few months, as I have been sharing with you now, the podcast under the name The Magic Pause, that I really needed a magic pause. You know what I mean? But I also realized that I'm not really here to help people take a magic pause because also words are very powerful and we tend to attract what we put out there. And so I really felt in my whole business more of like, well, everything is coming to a pause and slowing down. But really, when I tuned in, what is my one thing that I'm helping people with the most, right? Like, what is it that I do over and over again that lights me up so much? It came back to, well, I really help people step into their genius. Like I do this all the time in the human design readings, and I'm talking about it. I'm speeding up and I'm lighting up because Literally, when I have a session with people, like I can see in their eyes what their zone of genius as they talk. And it's so funny. Like we don't see it ourselves, right? We kind of tell ourselves these stories and we get stuck and we're trying to follow all these other things while it's like right in front of us. And obviously I use the tools of human design and Gene Keys with that, but that's just a tool I use. It's really like how I guide a client, how I ask questions, and how I also use a lot of pausing and slowing down in the session with my clients to get to this, like, what is your genius? What are you here to share with the world, right? So my biggest passion, or where I feel like my biggest purpose in life, I really have come to realize through this magic pause, is to help as many people as I can to really live in their genius. And what I think your genius is this unique talent that you were given by God, source, universe, however you call it. You know, the thing that it just comes quite effortlessly to you. Oftentimes we don't see it. We need some guidance to really see how amazing and how magical this is. And even as I'm speaking right now, I want to share with you that this talent that I have to help people step into their zone of genius, I keep telling myself too, wow, what's the big deal about it? Like, because it really comes so easy to me, you know, and even using human design and Gene Keys with that, it comes easy to me. And if I were to tell myself, like, what's the big deal? And just because I can do it so easily, like, well, probably everybody's doing it. But no, it's not. So you see, I have to remind myself of this as well. And if we live in a world where, imagine, every single human is fully in their zone of genius, where you do the thing that comes so effortlessly to you. And yeah, you can still work hard and work long hours, but you are flowing with the current of your purpose. You're doing the thing that you were intended to do here. And I really believe our life purpose is to create for all of us. We're not here just to take and consume. We're here to give. We're here to share. We have this beautiful life force energy coming through us. And we're here to create from this energy of this genius that is within you. And we often also think it's the one thing, right? Or it's like the job. But I also really feel that this genius within you, it grows, it evolves, it changes, and it shifts. And I think the more we trust ourselves, you know, the easier it is eventually for us to step into this. And again, this is really at the core of what I do when I work with the amazing people that are in my world. And this is, you know, through my free content on social media, this podcast. I have a membership. I offer one-on-one readings. Also, the podcast course is obviously I'm using human design and Gene Keys there because, you know, I don't want people just to launch a podcast. I want you to launch a podcast that is aligned with your zone of genius, so you're going to continue doing it as well. So you're probably wondering, like, okay, what does this mean? That means that the name of the podcast is changing again. And part of me is like terrified because I'm like, oh my God, what are people going to think? But I'm like, you know what? It's not a big deal. I needed a magic pause and I'm glad I took it because I'm now really realizing that, yes, pausing and slowing down, this is a very integral part of who I am and what is part of the work that I do. But I feel that I can make the biggest impact through using my zone of genius when I focus helping you live in your genius. So right now, what feels really good to me is the name Live Your Genius, because that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm actually focused on right now for me in my life. I have been obviously for many years with human design, and I think I'm doing pretty good there, but I also think I can even step more into it. And I also wanted to share, which some of you may also know already, last week it was my birthday, and I had this very strong was like this inner knowing moment where I was called to talk about my journey with a book that I'm reading right now, or listening. I'm listening to the audio version, which is called Your Big Leap Year. And there's another book called The Big Leap. It's by Gay Hendricks, which talks about, it's called the upper limit problem. And he brought this term, the zone of genius, that it comes from Gay Hendricks. And he also calls about this upper limit problem, how we tend to sabotage ourselves when things are going really well, which I think really happens, for me, like when I'm in my zone of genius, things are really flowing, clients come really easy to me, money is flowing. And then it's like, oh, this is too good to be true. It's too easy, right? And he created another version of this book now called Your Big Leap Year, where he literally takes you one little chapter at a time for 365 days to actually implement what is in the book. And I started it, I think I started it 2 weeks ago, but then last week was my birthday. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm meant to share this. I mean, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel. I'm pretty comfortable to talk on camera. It's probably not going to hurt anyone if I share this with people. It could actually change millions of people's lives, maybe thousands, maybe few. And so I was like, well, this is great, because I also know in terms of accountability, maybe I'm going to stick more likely with it myself if I do this and I commit to this. So I have been sharing now as I'm recording this, for 7 days on my YouTube channel, very short videos about the very deep, profound insights every single day from this big leap year journey, which again, it's all going to be about living also again in your zone of genius. So I have been obviously very attracted to this concept of genius. Another thing that I realized literally in hindsight, after I started making the videos, I'm also like working with a genius coin. So I have been creating these coins. This is funny. This is my conscious sun in my tropical chart, the 13 and the 7. So these coins, and I have called them the genius coins, and I wasn't even like really focused on this book at all when I did this. And this has been also a very integral part of what I have been working in over this last year. It will be a huge part of the human design certification that's coming out in March. And this whole human design certification too, that I'm so called now to focus on, it's all about empowering more of you to step into your role as a teacher and thought leader in the human design space, so you can also help more people step into their zone of genius. And I think I can create the biggest ripple effects and really use the gifts that were given me when I fully lean into this concept of helping people live in their genius. And it's not about just finding your genius, because yeah, you can maybe be aware of like, oh yeah, I have this talent to help people do XYZ, but then you choose not to do it, right? And not share it because of fear of criticism, or what are other people going to think, or this is not the traditional way, and so forth. So yeah, and as I'm speaking, it feels right, it feels good. It feels like the right next step to do. And it was also interesting because I was meant to record another episode with a guest speaker last week, and then it kind of shifted a little bit, and we're going to do it later. So it's also interesting because I literally was forced in a way to record a solo episode today, because I didn't have another episode pre-recorded. And this is also something that I have experienced over the last 3 years on my podcasting journey as well, in terms of like cycles and different phases. There are many times where I have content pre-recorded for like a month or even 2 months from all the guest speakers that I have. And I'm not really very focused on, okay, what is the next content I need to create? It's just already there and it's easy. I just have to publish it once a week. But then I noticed that it slowing down. And then I had phases where I didn't have any guest interviews that I had recorded. So there was nothing to publish. And okay, I committed to being here every single week. So let me get on. Let me talk. What wants to come through me? And this has always been very amazing, because one, it challenges me. And it has always helped me so much to really step into my intuition and just share this in the moment, because I could not have told you this, what I'm talking about today, 1 week ago. I could not have planned this. And this is also something that still blows my mind a little bit, how, yeah, I'm so meant to role model what it means to live more in the moment and to live with your intuition, where, yeah, you can have a vision, like on my shirt, you can have a plan, but you hold it lightly because I don't know always the next 10 steps. I have come to realize that when I have a goal, it comes from my heart space. It's so strong. And then I let it be, and then it just unfolds. But how it unfolds, even, is very hard for me to plan out, like in terms of timing and what is the clarity that arises from me. And this is something that I also learned through the first gene key. It's called About Freshness. Richard Rudd really talks about this concept where, yeah, you have this idea, you're going to put it out there, like my human design certification, like it's all there. And it's just all unfolding for me one step at a time as I'm right now in the phase of actually creating the content. It's beautiful. It's also scary because my human mind, of course, wants to be like, oh, I want to have it all done already because it's much safer, because there's this part of me that, yeah, is maybe not trusting that it's going to all unfold beautifully, but every single time it does. Life has shown me, God has shown me again and again with my podcast, with all these beautiful projects I have been working on when I have launched new programs. I didn't have it all figured out, but I took the first action, then I announced it, then I took the other action that were aligned in whatever order, which again, my mind could not have figured out by itself. So I also want to show you my human design charts because especially specifically my incarnation cross from my tropical and my true sidereal, because I find that what I'm talking about right now has a lot to do also with my shift from, going from the tropical to the true sidereal version of my human design. So let me just share my screen for that. Just give me a second. So here's my tropical human design chart. Again, I'm here 2-4 manifesting generator, and my incarnation cross is the right angle cross of the Sphinx. And this energy is very much about direction. It's all on the G center. It's gate 13, 7, 1, and 2. And I love this incarnation cross. It was so beautiful for me to work with this. It's about deep listening. It's about guiding, and yeah, really guiding also humanity into the future. And I think that's also still a big part of what I do with my work, but it's a little bit broader, And I also have often used the term that I help you shift into the right direction. And this is also where the magic pause comes in, right? And I continue to do this in my work. And the purpose gene key, which is the unconscious earth in this incarnation cross, is that gate 2, which is the most feminine, is the most receptive energy. And I think this has also definitely inspired me a lot with the slowing down and really leaning into this. But this is not necessarily something that I'm here to help others with. This is more something like, who am I being, right? And I think I embody this pretty well. Again, I think there's always room for progress, definitely. And my unconscious earth, which is also called the radiance gene key, is that first gene key where it's about, how I create. Is literally, it starts with this big vision, and then I just take one step at a time, and I never know how the end result is going to look like, no matter how much I plan. As I really lean into every day and into the inspiration in the moment, that's how I really create the most. Also, gate 7 deeply speaks to me because this energy, that's my conscious earth here, is all about collaboration and guiding people. 13 is also a lot about listening, and especially listening to my own heart, and then also helping other people listen to their own heart and writing an empowering story about their own life story. So again, this incarnation cross is a really big part of me, and it gave me this foundation of the work that I do. That's how I feel, at least. And also, my profile is a 2-4. The 2-4 is all about this effortlessness and the ease. Again, this is something of my core message. You can find effortlessness all over my website, at least as we speak right now. And the 2 line also has the hermiting. It's a more introverted part. And the 4 line is about connecting and collaboration. This is something I have been really diving into in my business a lot. So just to share this, like, I'm not going to abandon this or feel like now, oh, my tropical chart doesn't matter anymore. What I do feel is that this has given me the foundation, and now I am called, this is me intuitively, literally following the breadcrumbs of the universe, to step more into the other chart. Also, the tropical, I'm a manifesting generator, which is a little bit more experimental energy and doing lots of different things. And I definitely, for many, many years, I tried so many things. I launched all these different programs. I tried business partnerships. I tried to do it myself. And I really learned what works and what doesn't work, because a manifesting generator is very much like a 3-line energy. And so now the other chart, which is the true sidereal version of my human design, that's the one I have been working more with over the last year specifically. That is a whole nother topic. There's no right or wrong, but I have been intuitively felt more aligned with my true sidereal chart. So here I am a 5-1 generator in this chart. So being a generator now, there's more of a focused energy, because a generator is here to become masterful at something. The mani-gen as well, but the mani-gen, there's more of a little bit more experimental energy with that. And the other thing is now my incarnation cross is changing to the left angle cross of individualism. So I have gate 38, gate 39 consciously, and on the unconscious side, I have gate 57 in my unconscious sun and gate 51 in my unconscious earth. And this incarnation cross speaks to me so much because, one, your incarnation cross really has a lot to do with your life purpose, what you're here to pour out into the world, the energy you're here to also help others with. So the cross of individualism is all about fighting for the individual, of how we're unique and how we're different. And especially with that gate 38, I actually pulled my true sidereal version from the Gene Keys and the description here, and it says, you're here to fight for what you believe in and to make a stand against the forces that attempt to undermine the individual. And you're here to challenge anything that takes away an individual's freedom and makes them less than they could be. That, for me, is literally what I'm talking about, helping you live in your genius. Because when you succumb to society's ideas of what you have to do, especially when it comes to your professional life, we cannot live the most beautiful life as a collective because there's so many inefficiencies. You know, if I'm forcing myself to sit in an office and do an accounting job, which I can do, but I can tell you already, I'm going to be miserable, I'm going to be tired, I'm going to be drained. I literally feel is that the visual picture actually that comes to me is that I'm containing energy. I'm actually cutting off energy. And when I have the courage to step into my zone of genius, which again, I want everyone, the thing that comes more easy to you. So for me, I'm helping you, I'm helping my clients, I'm helping my audience to see their zone of genius so they can step into it and take action on it. We really have this ripple effect of using our energy in the right way, how it's supposed to be directed. And with that, we actually create more life force energy. We create more life, we create more beauty, we create more joy, we create more expansion, we create more quantum leaps. And for me, literally, what comes to me is we're creating heaven on earth with that. Because we were given this for a reason. And we were given different geniuses for a reason. Imagine we all had, like, if everybody would be really good at seeing other people's zone of genius, like, we probably wouldn't go very far. There are other people that are really, really good at building systems, so that I can automate stuff in my business. That is not my zone of genius at all, for example. There are people, their zone of genius is accounting, and they love it. They freaking love it. It brings them joy. It gives them energy. And when everyone has the courage to more step into this, yeah, just this idea, just talking about it, it lights me up so much. And again, the whole concept of slowing down and the magic pause, I absolutely still love it. It's part of my work. But I have come to realize that is not what I'm here to teach people or as my main message to put out there. But it's part of the framework that I'm using, a very big part. And most of my clients are very similar to me. We're highly sensitive, introverts, and highly empathic people. And I think especially for us, the whole slowing down and taking intentional pauses is just so incredibly important. And I continue to encourage all of you to take pauses so that when you feel like you're being pulled in a direction that may not be right for you, that you take that time, you disconnect. It is really, really important. Now, the other thing in my incarnation cross is, so gate 57, that is my radiance gene key. It has a lot to do with my health and well-being. And it's all about trusting my intuition. This was, for example, what was happening this whole week. It changed so much for me of how I show up online, and my message is shifting a little bit, right? But it came so strongly to me intuitively. I had to take action on it, and I can feel how it actually gives me energy. And if I'm leaning into my conscious earth, the 39, there's this energy in the shadow where we take things personally and we're a little bit afraid of what are people going to think about us. If I were in that shadow, I would not have taken the action. I would be like, no, I need to stick now with the Magic Pause podcast. It cannot change again. Let's just not ruffle any kind of feathers. People are going to get confused. But I have really learned, like, no, I have to trust that intuitive guidance. And how I always know that that is right for me is because not only do I have this intuitive guidance, it also I have this very clear, calm, and grounded feeling in my body. If it's not right, I tend to feel kind of contraction in my body. So that has been also a very interesting observation. And then the purpose gene key, which is the unconscious earth, I have the 51. And it's also this energy of, one, I'm here to help people step into their own individuality. So they're really doing the thing that's right for them rather than trying to follow what everybody else is trying to tell them to do. And gate 51 is more about who am I being? And the 51, it's an awakening force. It's like initiating things. And obviously I'm doing this here with my podcast, right? I'm initiating it into a slightly new direction again. And I have to do things my way. If I'm not doing things my way, I'm not living in the energy of being in my purpose in that sense. And the other thing, the 5-1 is also a slightly different energy than the 2-4 profile. The 5-1 is this visionary leader. It's about, bringing these concepts out into the world far and wide. This is also why podcasting, I think, is very, very suitable for me, and YouTubing, because it gives me a platform to actually reach more people and be a thought leader and provide practical solutions. Because I think, living in your zone of genius, we can make that very, very complicated, but I actually find it can be very practical, especially with these tools that we have access to, like human design and gene keys. And I seem to make it very practical for people. This is also, again, how these genius counts came about, because people always ask me, like, Annalena, when you talk about the gene key or the gate, I just understand it so much better. Can you please write something that's a little bit more practical? And I had so many people ask me for this. That's why I was finally like, okay, I will do that. By the way, the people that will first get access to all the 64 genius archetypes, not only for the gates, also for the channels, that will be first in the upcoming Intuitive Human Design Teacher training and certification that starts in March. If you're not on the wait list yet and you feel the calling, I will drop the link to that into the show notes. I will open up enrollment in almost 2 weeks now. It's getting really exciting. But if you join the wait list, then you will have first access to enrollment. There will be only 20 spots available for this round because there's a lot of amazing bonuses and a lot of one-on-one support included. And I also want to be able to support a group that, yeah, the size feels aligned to me. We can always grow every year going forward. So yeah, this is it. This was my little reflection about my own podcasting journey. I hope this also inspires you to be okay changing things. So this podcast is just simply going into season 3. I mean, all these TV series we have online, there's always like a new season. And I also, with the new season, I changed the name of the podcast. And change is also something that has been profound on my journey. And I judge myself a lot for this. Also on my Instagram, I have been changing colors a lot. But I needed that because that is part of my creative process. And if I were going by what society is trying to tell me, I would be like, no, you have to pick one thing and you have to stick with it and you can't change it, or you have to do it a certain way. And then again, I'm not being fully myself. I'm a human being. Like, I thrive with variety, and change is part of life. Maybe I'm here to role model to people that change is okay, change is safe. Which also now reminds me that human design and the gene keys, which is originally all based on the Chinese I Ching, is called the Book of Changes. And I hope this inspires you also to change things if they don't feel right to you. Take that magic pause, go within, slow down. But when you have that intuitive hit to change something, go do it. The taking action part is just very important. And this is also something for me going forward with this podcast. There is going to be this energy of living in your genius. I'm here to empower you to take action towards that, to get out of your comfort zone. Because the information and knowing everything is great, and the awareness, but to really make a change in the world, to live out our purpose, we have to take action. And the action is not going to be perfect ever. I think perfectionism doesn't exist. Hello, Gate 18. But we learn so much through taking action. You learn to that it's safe for you to show up in your most authentic self. You learn to move that through that fear of rejection. You learn that it's safe, again, to change things. You learn what works. You learn what doesn't work for you. And again, everything goes back to you owning to who you really are and changing your zone of genius. And also that your zone of genius over time keeps evolving and keeps getting refined. And even with my journey now of my podcast, the last 3 years, there has been a lot of change. There has been a lot of refinement. And I and Alina, I really had to experiment a lot. And I'm just going back to a more focused lane now, because if I also respond to what you guys have been responding to the most, what you guys want the most of me and ask me the most, it always goes back to, I want you to talk about human design. You make it so practical and easy. I want you to talk about the gene keys. I want you to help me to step into my zone of genius. Like when people book readings with me, I have an intake form and people write it in there again and again and again. And also that most of you are highly sensitive, empathic, introvert. There's always a big fear of rejection, which is often the reason why you don't have the courage to step into your zone of genius and actually live it and share it with the world. Because your zone of genius is different. than mine, is different than anybody else's. And this, now circling all back to human design here, human design is called the science of differentiation. It's not the science of we have to fit in, not at all. So you're such a beautiful, unique being, and the world desperately needs your genius to be shared. There's so many people that you can impact. And I know our ego is always trying to talk us out of it, but I'm here to empower you and take those bold steps forward so that you can share this gift with the world and, yeah, make this a better place. And yeah, really have fun with it and live your most fulfilled, abundant life. With that, this episode is coming to an end for today. And I don't know exactly when I have all the changes ready for the podcast. So for next week, it may still be called the Magic Pause, but it's coming. I'm just not putting any kind of pressure on myself here right now because I am mainly working on the human design certification. On my YouTube channel, you can already see the new slogan of Live Your Genius. So let it be a little bit imperfect. Maybe that inspires you as well. It's okay, you know? With that, I'm really excited to be with all of you on the next episode. And thank you all so much for listening. And if you feel called, please share this message with those that may benefit from this as well. Bye, everyone.